because to open the window of comments, observation, questions if there are, and we'll segment and radiate, because Professor Etannibi has his time to spend, and I think shortly after this to leave foundation. So I will start from Professor Etannibi, Director, Advancement and Linkages. Your name and your observation in brief, please.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Vice Chancellor. Thank you, the guest lecturers. I'm Professor Sunday Atawogi. We happen to be members of the NRF at the same time. I'm not surprised by your eloquent and very stimulating lecture. We are indeed very glad to have you here today. I want to ask you one small question. The Nigerian population is being held to ransom by the politician because of poverty. People accuse them of taking bribe in order to vote, but they don't seem to have an option, because you are thinking of surviving to tomorrow, and somebody is telling you don't collect that 1,000 naira. And so the cycle is continuing, that the people who are making them poor, they have no option than to support them to win. What can we do to liberate the Nigerian poor out of the cycles of the elites, the political elites? And what can we do to ensure good governance? Not just what we have in the 60s and 70s, but what is even better. What can we do to ensure this in Nigeria? Because many of us are getting tired of the recycling problem that is being brought upon us by poor governance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Professor Bega Ibile, introduce yourself and your question.
Bega Ibile is my name, sir. The Vice Chancellor, sir, and our distinguished Professor Alemika, thank you for this very, very, very engaging lecture that you have delivered today. The attraction for me, sir, was the spontaneity of your presentation. You gave it originality and you gave it life. One could easily connect with your thoughts. And yes, your thoughts are unmistakably clear about what the issues are. That is, we do not have a security problem that is original, let me put it that way, but that is caused by the absence of leadership and governance. I cannot agree less with you, sir. But please permit me to digress a little based on one of your assertions. You said that the Nigerian government at some point recruited a huge number of policemen, and you said the government apparently did not have the capacity to train them, and that is part of the problem that the system has inherited. Can't we extrapolate this and extend it to what is happening in our educational system, where government keeps establishing federal institutions, whereas it has not properly sustained the ones that are in existence? How does this also contribute to the problem of insecurity in Nigeria? Sir, I thank you very much for giving us this very enriching and engaging lecture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Professor Oluwagbemi from the Faculty of Agriculture.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Oluwagbemi, Professor of Agroforestry. So, Vice Chancellor, sir, ladies and gentlemen, I also want to identify myself as one of the mentees of the lecturer. The lecturer mentioned poverty, especially in the world. But I want to expand that to recognizing mental and material poverty. Whereas the majority of the people in the world are materially deprived, members of the ruling class are mentally poor. I'll give you an example. If somebody is not suffering from mental poverty, why would an individual want to steal as much as 108 billion naira? What does it need that for if it's not mental poverty? When, as a postgraduate student at Europe, in the 80s, after when Tuji Breku was the presidential candidate of that, some of us who was his sympathizers, and what we saw then felt that we should adopt something. So whenever anybody questioned us, we answered by saying revolution is the answer. Now, I want to ask you something, because I am convinced that the way we go, we need a shock to change from this trajectory. Do you also share this with me, sir? And if you do, what kind of shock would you recommend? Because you find out in Nigeria that would obey the law outside of this country, would disobey the law in this country. So this kind of thing should not continue. So what is the kind of shock that we need to apply that will change the system for better? Thank you, sir.
Piece of the mother, Professor Irefin, the head of Sociology department.
Thank you very much, sir. The chairman, the vice chancellor, the speaker, the professors, the invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I want to use this opportunity, first of all, to thank the vice chancellor for the opportunity he has given to all of us here to be here today by inviting one of the giants in sociology to come and speak to us. Thank you very much, sir. I also want to welcome Professor Alemika. I want to also say that I'm one of his mentees. And I'm also proud to tell the House that he was my external examiner during my PhD viva. I want to tell you that this man you are looking at is an orator in the field of criminology, and he's one of the best I've seen so far. And on behalf of Sociology department, both the sociologists and the sociologists in training, please, I will beg the Vice Chancellor to please give us a minute to stand up and welcome Professor Alemika. The reason is that most of the lecturers, they passed through his tutelage in the University of Jos, and we are so happy that he's here today to share his field of knowledge with us. Please, can you please stand up? I would also like to announce that we have a professor, we have another giant here, Professor Meti Boba, who is also with us. The student of sociology, please can we say welcome to Professor Alemika. You will all agree with me that we are very lucky to have him in our midst, and we also thank the Vice Chancellor immensely. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. I recall I did mention earlier that there are a lot of mentees that might have not cited you, but today is a privilege for them to aspire to you. I would also have expected questions from the students, undergraduates, postgraduates in sociology, in political science, in international relations. So it is deliberate that Vice Chancellor has asked Professor Alemika to deliver a lecture on this topic for the purpose of your academics, and therefore the VC has asked by way of directive that the postgraduate student here in sociology, in political science, international studies, should seize the opportunity to ask, clarify, explain, observe, and then it will be your CV that sometime in your career you saw Professor Etannibi and you interacted with Professor Etannibi, and so shall it be. Professor Mike Ogiriba, MNI.
Thank you, sir. I want to say that I'm one of the privileged to have updated you in medicine department. Physically, I've been watching you on the screen. I want us to go with the way we deliver the lecture. It is non-traditional, and I could get a lot from it. I'm sure the students were waiting to hear what is security or insecurity, causes of insecurity, prevention, but the way you started. In the 60s, the system of governance was quite different from what we are going through now. In your own experience, what do you think should be the solution to bad governance?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the question. I didn't take very long on my lecture because I think the question and answer session enable me to know what you want to hear. And then I can respond to it. If I stay long, I will say what I want to say, and by the time it's ended, you will say, well, the man did not address what I wanted to hear. So I'm happy. I start with Professor Akawo, with your Sunday. I didn't know you were talking like so, I mean, voting did not start to be. It's simply that either we're not aware of certain of the happening, and we need to be in certain sectors. So each time the NGOs are talking about vote buying, I just laugh. In 1998, 99, the election that led to Obasanjo's presidency, I was the director of National Registration Agency. And we went to Lamaburu local government. I don't know whether Chief was, with some of my colleagues in the district. And we went there, and I was, and the politicians were distributing rice and salt and, all those ones. So I then asked, I called, a few of them, I said, why are you doing this? And I think that's where those of us in education. It's our strength. And I think we need to be more local than we are. I think we need to be more local than we are. And this woman said, this man is coming here now. Once he takes, when he's elected, where are we going to see him again? It will not solve any problem for us. Once he has, so I can take this one now. I know that's the minimum benefit I can get from this person. The thing has not led me since then. It just tells you the political system we run. It's not the fault, it's not the person who is collecting the money. It's actually a rational decision maker in the context of the kind of politics that we take. The man says, or the woman says, I want to, in a way, reduce my loss. If I don't collect this money, I will never see him or her again. And it's true. There was a joke, Onye, my good friend and colleague, when he was deputy governor, yes, where he came, before he took off, he came to my hotel and we had a discussion and all those ones, and he left. I think he probably veered off to somewhere, and I was going to Jos. By the time he was coming after me, they drove me to the, up the road. So when I saw him, I said, this you didn't know we're together, they will have killed me because they think you are important. I like the politics we play, in which once you get elected, look at another dimension of it. Somebody who, I presented a paper in 2004 in the University of Cape Town, and I titled it, I said, Elections and Politics in Nigeria as an Organized Crime. Really, what we call politics in Nigeria is an organized criminal activity. With due respect to politicians, why is it an organized criminal activity? The purpose for which people want to go to office is criminal. They want to go and enrich themselves through corruption. That is a criminal activity. Organized crime, the main purpose of an organized crime group is to enrich themselves. So if you behave that way, it doesn't matter whether you are in the church, you are in the mosque, or you are in politics. You are an organized criminal. And so that is the problem for us with our organization. So they are rational actors. So when they say, they should go and arrest them, police should arrest them, and not the policeman himself, where will he see the big man, even if he's the one protecting him? Immediately he jumps off of his build-ups and all those things. He paid court. The man ignores him and he goes in. If there are remnants of food later, I might say they should go and give it to them. And they scramble over it. So it's a whole political culture which, again, was changed. And I don't want to blame any. I think that our experience in 1966 was also such that it gave us a culture that does not belong to the civil society. That means the military armed forces discipline and hierarchy. And I think that attitude, separated people from governance. In terms of, so people in government became good doers. You took my money, and then you were doing something. They said we should go and thank him. What was he elected to do? What salary? What is he paid salary for that? We go and thank him again. If not bad governance, bad governance culture. So I think you are right. It's a rational action. The question is, how do we break the cycle? I didn't talk about recommendations. I actually had 20 recommendations in my paper. And one of the reasons I did it was those of us from humanities remember late Claude Aki. When you are with Claude Aki in a seminar, you get frustrated and you are represented with the end of Nigeria is the people to whom you are submitting the recommendation are the people who cause the problem and benefit from it. How do you think they will solve the problem? So sometimes I'm hesitant in giving recommendation, but I knew if at the end you say you didn't give recommendation, you only complain. So I had 20 recommendations, you read it when you do that. But honestly, this is my honest, as Professor Blair says, I don't know where we are going. And I'm being honest, even with the security agencies. We may wake up one day, events will start, all the game of ethnicity and religion will not work, and it will be snowball beyond what we can control. And there are possible scenarios. Maybe the milder scenario that return to the status quo will be, a military intervention. We're now hypothesizing maybe a military intervention. And my take is that the reason we've not had military intervention since 1999, luckily for us, is not because they don't have the capacity, but the distrust between them and with the society about ethnicity, religious composition is preventing it. Because if you come and say I, it's not, if you say I, Joshua Dogoyaro today, they are seeing somebody say I, Mohammed does not agree. I think that's one of the things that is solving us. But I think it might get to a point that the second scenario will happen. It will last so long and so serious that there might have to be a way that we negotiate a new Nigeria. I don't know how that will evolve. I give you another example. The last End Bad Governance lasted 3 days. If you ask any senior police officer, after 3 days, how much of letter material do they have to respond to it? So you find the security agencies are not even equipped in such a way that they can withstand a long-term stress on the society, and we must be very careful because we're not resourcing. I mean, after 3-4 days, the tear gas have probably vanished in many states. And without tear gas, what would the police do? Police would probably use one live bullet. Then one person died by one bullet. The demonstration will increase. So I think we are very delicate issue. There are a lot of scenarios that some of us are worried about what can happen. And I think what we need to do is, for me, simply what I can do now. It was Gamale Onaso, he said at some point he said he had bought his ticket and is at the airport waiting for the announcement for his, metaphor that is old and is on way home. What I promised myself from the one of being a teacher is that, and of course especially returning to Nigeria, is to say that I will never allow anybody to treat me as a tenant in Nigeria. And what does that mean? No matter who sits before me and beside me, I will tell you the truth which I think is the interest of Nigeria. And I think that's what we need to do. I think we must continue, no matter the cost, to tell the truth in our respective places. The governance at the national level or state level is an aggregation of governance at family, community, and other levels. It's because there's a breakdown of governance at even community level that we find. If you go to any community now, they don't have leaders. An average community in Nigeria has no leaders. They may call the politician leader during election, but if this change, they won't respect him. So and that is what can we do? What can we do? And at the recent time, in the last 4 or 5 years, I've been focusing on value for 2 reasons. One, and the metaphor I have is the computer. Computer consists of 2 principal parts: the software and the hardware. The hardware is all the hard things that we carry around. But when you switch on your computer and you are giving it instruction, what it's responding to is actually software. No matter how beautiful your hardware is, if the software is corrupt, that is the end of that computer. It just becomes an object on your table. I think Nigeria's software, which is value, has collapsed. And we need to find a way of regenerating it. Unfortunately, regenerating the orientation work to do. You can build a house overnight, you can do that, but to change people's behavior, it's a generation. But we can start, and see what we can do. There is a National Orientation Agency, was vibrant, but today it's killed, virtually. The idea was to be a non-partisan agency, but when you made a former publicity secretary of a party, now the director general, what do you expect him to do? He's supposed to continue with the propaganda of that political party. And then use respect of the general public. So our problem is endemic. And for me, it is not hardware problem. It is a software problem in the value that we uphold. But so we need to do more enlightenment and our various respect. And we don't need the whole society. Start from your family. Let's have a family that they will be so proud to say, in our family, we do not do this. I used to tell my children, I say, if you go to school, you have a right to fail a course. So when you fail, you just come home and say, I failed this course. Just explain why you failed it, whether the teacher was not teaching or you have told you or whatever, or you have so much that day. I said that if you cheat in an exam, I will not follow you anywhere. So I think that will last them that they can fail, and without consequences. So it is also for us to begin to look at what we do within our family. A collection of family then become a community. A collection of community become a local government. A community of local government become a state. I think the part is that we're trying to do it from the top. We try to do it from top, and it will not work. It won't work from the top. If the movement starts from the beginning, and you go to a village, and you are contesting for election, you give them money, maybe they took it and they didn't take it, but somebody they still come to this community, we are not voting for this person. By the time you do it this time, next time you will not focus on that, you focus on service delivery. So I think these are some of the things that nobody has knowledge. Maybe there is a symposium that the university will probably have to say, and I think through some of these problems, we are this change. What kind of change? Where do we begin? I think that's the dialogue that Nigeria needs to have. It's not all this stupid, we want restructuring, we want police, it will amount to just, expanding the current problem in the country. So that's my friend, Professor Gileye, thank you for, you actually gave an interesting analogy, and I'm going to be very blunt about this. First, I believe that tertiary education particularly has been used as a stopgap by government in respect of lack of employment opportunities. And so, when I think again I go back to say 70s, for example, you find many people who don't go to universities actually have car before those who went to university, who went to HS. By the time you finish, you are still in year 2 when the man already had ladder, and that is what you ride when during holiday. But what is the opportunity that is available to secondary school graduates today? Because we killed all our industries, not even to say we did not grow the industry, there is no employment opportunity for secondary school. What other countries did, even when they have a high population like we do, youthful population, is to create maybe a 1-year vocational system. And I think the example was the one built for teacher, Pivota. Something like that, people come out of school, you have numerous, vocations. They can spend anything between 3 months to 1 year. Shema in Katsina, it's not all, without thinking. Shema, during his tenure in Katsina, set up such things. They have about 11 trades in that vocational center. And the last, I think the mechanics were the longest. It starts from 3 months for those who do hairdressing, and then we're doing tie and dye and all those things. That's a very wonderful opportunity. Why can't we have such a thing per senatorial district, even not a local government, to begin to equip people who have secondary education when they finish? For example, can we set a mechanic workshop that is a one-stop shop? When you enter, there is a mechanic there is also an electrician there is a painter there, and government support them with loan and in a cooperative manner. Because we are not doing this, what has happened today is what has happened to the police. You can debate it. I honestly believe that less than 40% of current students, I mean, when I mean current, I don't mean today, of students in the last 25 years, less than 40% are actually university material at the point of entry. So government is actually wasting about 60% of resources of people who are not ready or not who are not suited for tertiary education. I think but it doesn't mean that if you don't go to university, you are not important. All of us envy people who healers, Toyota healers. Those sub-military vehicles, if you were in the US in the 80s, 90s, they were actually used by plumbers, electricians, and what have you. When they don't work in your house, they just drop their vehicle. It is like a compartment for their working tools. Till today, I don't know, even if I was a professor, if a plumber came to your house and worked for 1 hour, that what you pay him or her for that 1 hour is more than what you are paying as a professor on hourly basis. Just go and check it out. So the problem is we combine certification, money, and all those things in one pot. No, people can earn and live decently and be recognized without a certificate. I know that this pressure of certificate without skill is a major problem that we have. So I agree with you. And I actually believe very strongly that we need to be talking about it as a way to go. That people, rather than hanging around for 10 years without job, and then of course we need to do that way and all those things. We want people to think through what president do. You put pressure on somebody who is not ready to go to the back here, and then you go there explaining. And people have asked us for evidence. Please, can you tell me what proportion of students graduate without series of having over during their student life? That gives you an idea of what is happening. Then, Professor Oluwageni, thank you for mental poverty and material poverty. I used to think that way. If the problem of the mental poverty, I think maybe to find out and it's a form, it's a form of illness. I always ask myself, why would somebody require that thing? And it's because it's you and I are lecturers. What happens is, once you get to a certain level, you are not accumulating for what you need, but you are accumulating to win a competition. Are you following? You are accumulating to win a competition. So, Vice Chancellors and I were in office, and they said, oh, every weekend he goes to Dubai. So I asked, why can't I go to Dubai also every week? So I'm aspiring to compete with his weekly. Then before you know it, he has this car, and then this, that, and that. I had he became a politician and actually goes to his mid-level. And I went to the house and I saw that almost the three vehicles were the same made, but it was 20, 30, 20, 40, 20, 50 for example. And I asked him, hey, why are you buying this? Oh, you know what he could tell me? One has a bottle that does this. One another as to who has acquired money for it, and there is no end for that to that. You can never be contented if you are competing, because there is somebody who always has more than you, and that becomes the object or your motivation. So it is the law, and the system that tells you can't by the system that is established. I value that is competent or illegal framework processes by public behavior. Thank you, Professor Ife, for your observation. Congratulations, I went to men who were stopping with a PhD. Now you've congratulations. This is an innovative thing. I recall, now she mentioned how university can be very innovative. At the beginning of Boko Haram, nobody wanted to go to Maiduguri to examine. So what he told them is, no, I'm not coming. I think the private, after 1 year, they said, let's reason together. So what they were doing was they were bringing their candidates to Abuja. So you now go to Abuja to examine them, and by that they were able to clear the many backlog that I'm happy to begin well. If not to behind my back, how I get back to the main road. The sociology student and things that you introduce, I really want to thank you for your presence. I think you did the difference in your presence. Sociology is a very difficult discipline. They are laughing. It's difficult because you are trained to see what people don't see. You are trained to be able to project what will happen. And when you have this kind of mind, sometimes you become a stranger in the midst of in the midst of a crowd, because what seems to entice them, you can see danger about those enticements. And then, of course, the analytical frame is different from the society. So it's a very difficult discipline, and I know that even employers are very skeptical. They will say, that one will just come and make things difficult by analysis. But I think it's a discipline. I was reading, some people said, what will you do in sociology? And each time I hear that question, I laugh. Because I was once asked, not by, in a very sarcastic way. There was somebody who was very close to my father. My father would call him a mentor. And his son was reading medicine. And also class my father were very close. And on holiday from Ibadan at the village. And he asked, I know my son is reading medicine. What is it that you are reading? What do you call it? How do I explain sociology to a Kunu man that has actually not learned Kununa? I guess I struggle. I don't know whether I struggle, but I didn't know what to say to today. And sometimes that's how I apply to sociology. Sometimes people ask us questions, we know the answer, but we don't know how the person can comprehend the answer we're going to give. Now, Professor Grima, luckily, you are an MNI, Mafia Nigeria Incorporated. So I don't think you should be asking me that question, what we should do. I think that's what it needs equip you to do. And how do you deal with bad governance? Bad governance is not a virus that is permanent. The extent to which bad governance continues is a function of how long people allow it to continue. So that is why I'm not discouraged. If we decide today we are going to end bad governance, we can end it. The power is within us. It's not, it's that we have a self-defeatist attitude. And we by the time I was retired in that office, whatever nonsense you do outside of my office is none of my business. But if you bring it to my table, I will tell you that I don't participate in your nonsense. And that's at the point which I retired. And it looks defeatist, but I wish I learned that much earlier. In the sense that the logic is make sure nobody does nonsense on your table. If we can mobilize enough people to have clean table, we will have clean environment. But because we start at a level which is beyond our power, and where there is no critical mass, we feel a failure. So I encourage people, don't give up and say, oh, I won't do this. Even if I don't do this, other people are doing it. So what? Other people are not. You do what is best. I want to thank the university for actually providing opportunity for academic engagement and public sector. It's not common anymore in most universities in Nigeria. That's part of the crisis of Nigerian academic discourse has fallen, and when we're a student in UI, it's like every day you are looking to where the professors and the lecturers are debating or arguing in halls and what is it, the big hall now, behind by Pecture hall. And you want to go and see the BJ Dudleys, you want to see Omafume Onoge, Bajo Nico days, and all those ones who will come. And that's how some of us, willing to be a teacher was reinforced. They came there with Ankara with 2 pockets in front. That was the book then with a car key that is used to, when they come out, it used to marine at best. But they believe actually, and I want to encourage my colleagues, they believe they were superior to presidents at that time. So I think as academics, let's not allow, because we have a role to play in all these things, let us not allow politicians' acquisition to intimidate us. Let us not allow them to intimidate us. On the contrary, they have things, you should let them know that you are not inferior to them, and therefore you are not going to be their errand boys. Some of our colleagues take position that I don't believe, I can't understand why they take it. And I hear professor is a senior special assistant to local government chairman. Something is wrong. I think colleagues need to begin to do so. I do go to take some of these traditions very seriously. I must also talk about inaugural lecture. I remember, I think you are advanced beyond your peers in some of the innovation, like inaugural lecture. I remember, I think when it started there was a little discomfort. And I had to call the university, if you remember, I had to call and say, put your feet on the ground. Nobody becomes a professor in a sense. If you are not delivered inaugural, you have something. You know we change this name. It's when you give your inaugural that you actually inaugurate your chair. That's the British system. So there might be circumstances in which you can't deliver their legitimate, but it shouldn't be that we don't have inaugural lectures. No, electoral lecture is part of the academic, is the way, the tradition that I think is important. I usually say in JOS, when I found that there was some problem, I said, inaugural lecture is equivalent to Holy Communion. In the traditional inaugural lecture, in the hall, if a pin drops, you can almost know where it dropped. After they finish, people in Ibadan, in those days, I remember when people like Peter Ike gave their this and that. When they finish, people want to go over there and go over there, but not in God. That is how it's there. Inaugural lecture is to an academic setting. I really thank you.
As is customary to present seminar to our distinguished lecturer.
Thank you before I do that. When our guest speaker was giving his paper, he mentioned the name. And I just remember, I just looked straight to the person now. I was in primary school when he was in the university. We look at him he said, one day I would like to be a university student. He said because on Komunipa, they stand up for the community. I don't know whether I can still recognize me. I do. Saboki. Yes, sir. This is the popular MC. I know that. Now, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I want to thank Professor Etannibi for being here today. Thank you. The representative of the Commissioner of Police is there. Please, thank you for coming. Chief Femi Nilefa, yes, sir, you are welcome, sir. Former Commissioner in the state. I've introduced my uncle, Chief Andrew Nipa, former INEC chairman. Introduce him. Chief Kunle Medubi, former director of education. Thank you, sir. Dr. B. Olu, retired lecturer ABU. Thank you, sir. Our own general manager NT, thank you for everything. Thank you for this. We appreciate you. We have the Bunu community here. Thank you for coming to share this moment with us. The open community, they are also here. The representative of NMS Buga is here. I want to thank you. Joy today, my brother, thank you for Then the DSS, my own sister, thank you for coming. The commandant of the defense, civil defense, just left now. I think they call her she's something like that. Okay, she has just left now. And I also want to specially recognize, and I will invite him to assist us to do the presentation to the guest lecturer. That is one of our commander answer.
I'm very proud moment today. I've listened severally to Professor Etannibi Alemika's lectures, particularly at National Defense College, and today's lecture touching directly of what I do in Kogi State. We are talking of good governance, you know you are helping security. And not peace and itself. When you have good governance, you don't need revolution. You are tested to it in your lecture, particularly when you pass it through zone 8 or Zango, when the citizen can feel the government, then you have less pride. One other thing is that I don't know whether you touched some in your lecture. We have a very formal